This is a Jet 24, Fox 66, your Erie.com special report.
Good afternoon. We interrupt our programming once again to bring you a special report, this time an update on the spread of COVID-19 in Erie County. We want to go now live to the studios of WQLN Television. Erie County Executive Kathy Dahlkemper is getting ready to give us the very latest from Erie County. I can tell you that on a statewide basis, Dr. Rachel Levine, the Secretary of Health, just reported that Pennsylvania has 47 more deaths since yesterday. That's 1,597 total. Here's Kathy Dahlkemper.
In Erie County. Last week, we experienced a day that we wished would never have come, and today I'm saddened to report that a second Erie County resident has passed away due to COVID-19. The female is in her 70s and had been hospitalized. She passed away yesterday at St. Vincent's Hospital, Allegheny Health Network. Again, AHN St. Vincent Hospital continues to provide exceptional care and is doing everything possible to save the lives of those that are in their care. We extend our deepest sympathy to the family during this extremely difficult time. Unfortunately, we continue to see our numbers increase also. Today we have 4 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Erie County to report. 1 of them is in their 20s, 2 of them in their 30s, and 1 in their 40s. This has us at a total of 82 positives with 1,621 negatives. The Erie County Department of Health continues contact tracing and continues to communicate with the state. These 4 cases all reside in Zone 1, which can be found on the cumulative cases map by zone at eriecountypa.gov. We have 53 recovered cases to date out of the 82 total cases. So that means we have 29 active cases today. Again, the best practice for all of us is to assume that everyone that you come in contact with has the virus. The state numbers are 42,050 total cases with 1,597 deaths. That is a 2,001 increase in the new positive cases since Saturday. Crawford County has 9 positives, McKean has 5, and Warren County has 1. Chautauqua County has 31 cases and 3 deaths, and Ashtabula County has 110 cases and 11 deaths. Please, everyone, continue to take precautions when you leave your home. Please wear your mask. Practice your proper hand washing of at least 20 seconds and maintain that 6 feet social distancing that is so important with anyone that you don't live with. These practices are part of our new way of life. We understand that new information seems to come out every day, so to help with confusion regarding masks, let me help you understand who should be wearing masks and when. Universal masking means wearing a mask anytime you leave your home. If you're going to the bank, the grocery store, the gas station, out for a walk, anywhere that you may encounter another person, you need to wear a mask. When you are entering essential businesses, you need to wear a mask. If you work in that essential business, you need to wear a mask. Even with your mask on, you should keep 6 feet away from others. If you are in your car by yourself or with just a person that you live with, you do not need to wear a mask. But if you are going through a drive-through to pick up food or a drink, put on your mask as you get to the window to pay and keep it on while you get your food. Then hand sanitize or wash your hands before you eat that food. And remember, my mask protects you, your mask protects me. We are asking all of you to be partners in this effort. And please, please share this information with others who may not be watching these different briefings we have or hasn't seen this message in some other way. I cannot stress enough to you that we are talking here about people's lives. As we look to reopening more businesses in the coming weeks, it is time for us to become even more cautious. As I've mentioned before, our summer is going to look a lot different than the summers we always experience here. We heard today that Waterford Heritage Days have been canceled. We expect that many, many more community events that we love, like our festivals, concerts, our sports leagues, parades, are all going to face the same fate. The longer it takes for everyone to get on board and practice universal masking, 6-foot social distancing, and good hand hygiene, the more changes will have to be made, and the longer it's going to take to get back to a life that we are used to. Now, if adults are having trouble understanding this new way of life, just think how our children feel. Many of us have children in our lives, sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, grandchildren. Talking to children about this can be particularly difficult. So in partnership with WQLN, we were able to create a video message for children, the ABCs and 1-2-3s of COVID-19. The video reviews ways that families can stay healthy and prevent the spread. It's a helpful tool we hope that you'll use to talk with the children in your life. You can find this video and other resources for children on our website, eriecountypa.gov. Thank you for all that you are doing to help us slow the spread of COVID-19 here in Erie County. Please stay home, as I always say, and stay safe and stay calm. And on our website, you can find many, many resources that will be helpful for you, whether you're a business, whether you're an individual just trying to do the right thing, or whether you're some community organization trying to decide about your next event. So now I'm going to turn it over to the media for questions, but right before I do that, and so that I don't forget here at the end, there is going to be a virtual job fair put on by the Northwest Pennsylvania Career Link. This virtual online job fair is next Monday, May 4th, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. There are still many businesses out there hiring, and this will give you an opportunity, if you're looking for a job, to maybe find the job of your future. So please go to northwestnwpa.easyvirtualfair.com/. So you can just go on the Pennsylvania Career Link site for Erie, and you will find all that information about that virtual job fair coming up in a week. And now I'd like to ask our media for questions, and we'll start with Erie News Now.
Good afternoon. A question for you regarding businesses. Have you heard anything more about when they may have the opportunity to reopen, in terms of which ones might be able to reopen when we hit that target date of May 8th, if that still is kind of the goal? Just for those business owners out there who are wondering, do you have any more information for them about whether or not they may be able to reopen and what that will look like?
So we haven't gotten any further clarification from the state, and we're reaching out to them for that clarification, because obviously we all need to be ready. We need to be ready in county government, at the Department of Health especially, as we've been out there trying to be a partner with our businesses and help them to be in compliance. And our businesses, of course, need to be able to plan, and May 8th is less than 2 weeks away now. So what we're hoping is that we get some more clarification from the state very, very soon, in the next couple days, and then we can really help through our business partners to get the word out to all of the businesses in our community, which ones can open, how they open, how they are in compliance with the guidelines, and which businesses still are not going to be able to open. So there is some guidance from the governor on his overall general plan, but it's very non-specific, and so we want to be there for our businesses and to help them. One thing I am recommending to businesses is to go on there and look at the guidance that was put out for the life-sustaining businesses, those that have been open this whole time. That guidance, I would say, was probably going to be pretty close to the guidance that we expect every business will have to adhere to as they open. There's also been guidelines that have put forward for construction, and those are also on our website, eriecountypa.gov, and you can find those at the state website also. One interesting thing, but every construction site needs to have a pandemic safety officer assigned to that construction site, so someone who is really making sure that the guidelines are being followed. So look at those guidelines that are out there already, and I think that will help businesses at least get a start on developing their plan for how they'll reopen when they are allowed to. Talk Erie?
Yes, good afternoon, ma'am. It's Joel Natale. I wanted to ask if you could tell us a little bit more about the deceased woman in her 70s. Do you know when she was tested, any of the conditions, if she had any underlying health conditions? Anything else that you can share about this?
I don't have a lot of details on this person who unfortunately has passed away, except that they were in the hospital, and so obviously very sick, and that they passed away last evening, I believe, and they're in their 70s and a female, and that's really all the information I have.
Thank you.
Jet TV?
Yeah, hi Kathy, it's Samir. I'm not sure if the feedback's on my end or someone's just not muted, but if we could do that, that would be great. I want to focus on the events this year in Erie County. So obviously you're saying you think most of them might follow the fair or the Waterford Heritage and just cancel. Would you just prefer at this point that we have a blanket that covers that and just cancel all of those major events right now?
So as we look at the governor's guidelines in terms of going into the yellow phase, it talks about no gatherings of more than, I think, 25 people. And there's not a single fair, festival, concert, I don't think, in our community that doesn't attract well over 25 people. So even if you just take the people there to run those events, you've already hit the 25. So I don't foresee any of those happening. I think what's so hard to wrap our heads around, and it's hard for me to wrap my head around, this virus is here. It's looking for its next host. And as long as this virus continues to be not only in our community but in our country and really around the globe, it's going to travel and it's going to find new hosts. And so we don't have a vaccine and we don't have a very good way of even treating the worst cases of COVID-19. And so until that happens, we don't foresee large gatherings occurring at all. Now, all of us want to get back to some semblance of normalcy, so that would be opening up businesses that can safely conduct their business with less than 25 people. And so those are a number of businesses aren't going to fit into that category, especially those that attract a lot of people to their business for events and that type of thing. So it's really not great news, because gosh, don't we love our summers in Erie County, and don't we love all of the great events that we get to have here and get to enjoy and celebrate together. This is not going to be one of those summers where those are happening, and I go to many of those myself and truly enjoy them, but I also know that for the health and people's lives in our community, we're going to have to sacrifice and give up on most of those. So just trying to prepare people. Different entities have asked me about their fundraisers, about their events, and we don't have any definitive answer from the state yet, but when I see the yellow phase involves gatherings of no more than 25 people, I don't know how long we're going to be in the yellow phase, and I would just put that caution out there to all that are looking to organize their event.
Then I have a follow-up really quick to that. Just considering places like Presque Isle and the beaches, do we, I guess, well, you don't really have your magic ball to kind of see into the future, but do we think the beaches will be open, I guess, for people to enjoy Presque Isle and go into the water there?
I really don't know what the state's going to decide, because, of course, those beaches are controlled by the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, DCNR, and what they're going to do about that. We've been very lucky that Presque Isle, the park itself, has remained open except no facilities, so there's no bathrooms, there's no, and there's nothing else open on that park. We've certainly seen pictures of beaches in other places, California and along the Atlantic, that have opened up and the crowds that have come there. I think my biggest fear about that is the attraction that we are for others to come to our community, you know, from other places in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and New York, and beyond. And you know, the beaches can get very crowded at times, and it's hard to keep that 6-foot distance from people. So I honestly don't know how the state is going to control that and what kind of parameters they're going to be putting on the beach use this summer. Erie Times News.
Hi, Kathy. This is Maddie O'Neill from the Erie Times.
Hi, Maddie.
I was hoping you could talk a little bit about some of the new information on the county's website, specifically the people who are currently quarantined or have been released. That was a bigger number than I expected, so I was hoping you could talk through how those people were identified and why you think it is that there's a less than 2% rate of those people who were quarantined becoming positive cases.
So I'm not an epidemiologist or a physician, so I don't really know if I can answer too much about the second half of your question, but the first half certainly can. So when a person becomes positive, then we have this long interview process with them, and who did you come in contact during the days when we think you were probably actively could be spreading the virus, when you were contagious. And so then as we have those conversations, then we get all of those contacts, and then we call your friends and neighbors and family or whoever you might have been around during that time. And for some people, it's hardly anyone. It's maybe 1 or 2, 3 people. For others, it's quite a number of people. And you know, for the person who's been truly social distancing, the numbers are low, but for the person who's not been social distancing, not wearing a mask, all of those things that we put in place, the numbers can be much higher. And so you've got to remember that those numbers started at the beginning in terms of the numbers that were in quarantine from the first case we had and have gone on now. Now we're finding those people from case 82. And so the numbers have been high, but as we know, many of those people are off of quarantine now. And why they did not become positive is probably, I'm just going to take a guess, again, this is an educated guess, I'm not an expert when it comes to this, but it's probably because they actually they didn't have close enough and long enough contact with that person to have enough virus, you know, contagion come upon you somehow, and you breathe it in and you get sick. Or maybe you were actually with that person, maybe you were both wearing masks, maybe you really washed your hands well after you were with that person and you used hand sanitizer and before you touched your face, and so even if you had some of the virus on you, you did the right thing and you didn't get it. So I'm hoping that we all continue to realize that our own personal habits and the things that we do in terms of wearing our mask, keeping 6 foot away from somebody, and that good personal hygiene is the best thing we can do to protect ourselves, because we know many people, they don't know they have it until they get symptoms, and yet they could be contagious for a couple days beforehand. So that's really when most of the spread happens. Like that.
Thank you.
Sure. Erie News Now?
Hi, as we start looking down the road here, even if businesses are able to partially reopen a handful of weeks from now, how much of a concern is the upcoming summer season, again, with our area being such a heavy tourist destination in the summer? And then also, even looking out from here, you look at, say, you know, the Chautauqua Institute, something like that, not in Erie County, not under your purview, but if things were to happen there, pretty decent chance those people would be brought to Erie if they were sick. So, you know, how much of a concern is that as you try to balance the needs of right now while also trying to look forward to the future in terms of both health and economics?
These are the things that keep all of us up at night. You know we have to somehow get our economy up and going. I have been inundated with a number of emails today from people saying, reopen Erie County. We all want to reopen Erie County. But we do this at, you know, with much caution, and it will not take much for 82 cases to double and triple and quadruple, and the deaths of 2 people to also exponentially grow if we do not be cautious and very careful about how we do this. So a small business that maybe just has a few employees and limits the number of people coming in, and everybody's wearing masks and keeping their social distance, lower risk than, like you're saying, you know, people that may be coming into a larger gathering and being close together. And it also does concern me greatly that people coming in from other areas that have a much higher community spread than we do, and potentially bringing more of the virus into our region. The virus spread originally by travel, by people traveling across the globe, people traveling across our country, and people traveling across our Commonwealth. So that's how it originally spread, and now it's pretty much through contacts locally because most people aren't traveling anymore. But obviously, if the stay-at-home orders are lifted, that is going to change. So these are the things that keep us up, and I cannot in any way, I don't think, say it strong enough to the community. This isn't going to mean that we open the floodgates and we do everything the way we used to do it. Once we open the stay-at-home order, it gets lifted, you want to go visit your friend, you'd be best to be visiting with them outside, sitting in chairs that are at least 6 feet apart and both of you wearing a mask. Now that may sound odd and different than the way you normally greet and spend time with your friend, but that's what needs to happen. And those are the kind of things that we all need to be thinking about. And then if you want to serve some pretzels, you should each have your own bowl of pretzels rather than having one common bowl that people are reaching their hand into. And so these are all of the very basic things that we all need to be thinking about. You know, how will it be when I'm back actually visiting again with my family members or my friends, or, you know, when I go back to work, what does that look like? You've probably been out. I have been to pick up food, and restaurants where you're picking up food have 2 trays for a pen when you're signing your receipt. One is cleaned, and then when you use it, you put it in the other tray where it's now dirty so that that can be re-sanitized. So there's changes that have happened on the businesses that have been opened, and these are the kind of changes we all need to be thinking about. And there's a lot to think about, and I'm going to try to bring more and more practical things in front of everybody over the next 2 weeks as we look to hopefully having some lifting of restrictions on May 8th here. Talk Erie?
Yes, ma'am. You probably haven't heard this yet, but it just broke about 10 minutes ago from the governor. He's saying this Friday, starting Friday, May 1st, golf courses, marinas, guided fishing trips, and privately owned campgrounds may reopen statewide as long as they follow updated life-sustaining business guidance and FAQs by the Wolf administration. Want to comment on that at all?
I'm concerned. I'm not as concerned about golf courses because you only golf with 4 people, and if you're with, like me, I'm in the trees often and not really too often near my fellow golfers. So I'm not as concerned about golfing. It's a very separate sport. It's not, there's no physical contact usually, and if people only have 1 to a cart, if they took a cart or if they walk, not a big deal. Marinas, my concern is just the people that may decide to sit on their boats and socialize with everyone else on their boats, and that often those boats are not 6 feet apart. And so, and then I know there's some common things like maybe a hose where you hose off your boat. I don't have a boat, so I'm not completely aware of what they do, but I understand, you know, there's some common things that you all might be touching, and so marinas need to be thinking about that and how they would either not have common things for people to use together, or how they would have a way to sanitize them between use. So, and then also, you know, people not wearing a mask when you're on your boat in dock. In my opinion, and we'll see what kind of guidance comes out with, it seems to me that you should be wearing a mask if there's other boaters that are next to you, anywhere near you. Obviously, when you're on the lake, it's fine. And if there's no other boaters in the boats next to you, it's fine too. So again, it's remembering about the people that don't live with you. Now, if you want to take friends on your boat, do you have a boat that's big enough to be 6 feet apart? If you don't, then you shouldn't take people with you on your boat. Again, if they don't live with you, you should keep that 6-foot distance, and most people's boats aren't big enough to keep themselves 6 feet apart on their boat. So those are the kind of things. Campgrounds, it's the same thing. You know, part of camping experience is the camaraderie of coming together around the campfire at night, or the activities that happen on the campground, the playgrounds, the pools, those type of things. So I don't know, are those things going to be allowed to be open, and what does that look like? And how do you have a safe campfire at night and keep 6 feet apart from your neighbors who are camping with you, and you might want to have a bonfire together. So, I mean, it's really about those practical things that we all have to think about. It's a completely different way of thinking. And I even talked about the pretzel sharing. And when you're around the campground, are you sharing food with your friends that are there with you? And how do you do that in a safe way with your own, each having your own container with that food in it versus a common bag or a common bowl? So I'm concerned, but I understand that people want to get out there and do the things they love to do, and I don't in any way want to say you can't do those things. Can we do them safely? How do we do them safely? We all need to think about that. But thanks. I didn't know about that, but it's good to know and be able to say that right here on the air to people. So thank you. Jet TV.
Yep, Kathy, Samir again. So once we move into this yellow phase, are you still going to ask people to not travel even though the stay-at-home order is lifted? Like, should we still stay within Erie County and restrict travel to areas like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and New York?
The best thing that we can do for our community as a whole is to limit our travel, to limit it as much as possible. You know, summertime's also a time coming up where people like to travel and go and vacation and be, you know, in other places of our community, other places in our country. And it's not going to be a great year for traveling because there's going to be much more of a risk to you, even when you travel. Where are you stopping along the way? How do you know about what's happening in that region in terms of COVID? You know, this is a very dangerous virus. And it is, you know, if you haven't seen the stories about what it's done to some people, it's pretty bad. Other people, not so much. But you don't want to be one of those people who gets it and then passes it on to someone else who has a terrible reaction to it and maybe even death, or yourself, you know, be in a situation like that. So the more you can stay at home this summer, the more you can just stay in Erie County and enjoy the beauty of Erie County, kind of a staycation, I think is much more advisable than going elsewhere and potentially finding yourself in a place where you contract the disease.
And then obviously every day we talk about how dangerous this virus is. And then what do you say to those people who still might not take this virus seriously or the stay-at-home order and they just think it's something as common as the flu?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but you know, the rate of death, I think now we're up to about 52,000 people in the United States in just a very short time. The rate of death is much higher in this point, and we don't have a way to treat it. We have a flu vaccine that really helps us, you know, really control the flu and keep the numbers down every year. We hope that we'll have a vaccine for this in a year or so, a year and a half. Then there'll probably be a mass vaccination, and we'll all want to run and get it, of course. That probably will happen. But until that happens, we've got a virus out there that wants to find its host again. And so, again, I just say, if you don't believe the stories of how bad this is, it's not just 70 and 80-year-olds. There are young people who are dying, and there are also young people who are having a lot of serious side effects from this virus. Erie Times News.
Hi, Kathy. Governor Wolf today called for mandatory reporting of race and ethnicity information with COVID-19 testing information. Do you know at this point, do you have the updated race information for Erie County, and do you know how our reporting is?
So every Wednesday we're updating our numbers on gender, age, race, those type of things, and so I don't have them today, but the numbers will be updated on Wednesday. Unfortunately, in the beginning, many were not, across the whole Commonwealth, were not reporting race on the testing results, and so the NEDS system really has, it was up in the beginning, it was like 75% of the cases didn't have the race on there. I think they've come down a bit on those numbers, but still it's way too many. So, you know, I applaud the governor for insisting on that. We've been insisting upon it here in Erie County now too, and we'll have those numbers for you on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Erie News Now, do you have any last questions?
One final one for you as we again look toward the summer here and likely not having festivals, that sort of events, which are often fundraisers that nonprofits rely on. How much of a concern is that in terms of state or county aid, in that these organizations aren't getting the money they ordinarily do to do work around the community? Could we see an even greater tax in terms of stress on aid systems because these nonprofits can't help out, so people end up turning toward county or state government?
This is going to be a huge concern, and that's why I ask everyone to think about what you do in the summer and maybe who does raise that money, and could you just donate to that organization if you have a job. But we have a lot of people without jobs too right now still, so we want to get people back to work hopefully so that they can continue to support these great organizations. But it's a huge concern. We're trying to save people's lives here, and many of these organizations are also saving people's lives in a variety of ways all the time. So it is, it's very, very difficult, and there's no easy answer. There's no easy way through this that will not show a lot of difficulties within our community. And we're going to see the effects of this COVID-19 virus in our community for many, many months, probably years. Talk Erie, do you have any final questions?
Just real quick, has any metric been released to you to have a region or county go from yellow to green? Is there any data out there about that yet?
There is not. You probably watched the national news. We just, today I think, are seeing a few states opening up, and we'll see how that goes there. And so, yeah, we have not seen any of this. Some countries have begun to open up more, and everybody's watching to see what happens in those particular countries. But this is all fairly new and recent, and I don't think we've been able to pull any data that's significant out of any of those at this point.
Thanks.
Jet TV, do you have any final questions?
Yep. Just I have 2 questions for you. I'll start off with the easiest one. So the state health department is still showing 0 Erie deaths. Is that just a lag in the system?
Yes, a death certificate needs to be filed, and then I think there's a review of it on the state level, and so we knew that it may be days. In fact, when we first talked about the first death, it's like, when do we want to say it happened? Because we knew there'd probably be quite a lag before it gets on the system, and I'm about transparency and about bringing the numbers forward as we know them and as soon as we know them. And so we did come out on Friday after the individual had passed away Thursday evening. I did check with the family first and make sure they were okay with me releasing it before they were doing their own obituary and such. But that is why. It's because this is it's a lag in the death certificate process.
Got it. And then my next question also requires, I guess, a magic ball to look into, but daycare centers. I had a viewer reach out to me and ask if that could possibly be part of the yellow phase. Do you see that happening, or possibly the implementation of reopening those anytime in the near future?
In the yellow phase, it does say that daycare centers will be part of the opening. Obviously, if we're going to open up businesses, we need daycare centers to open up to support the families. And they do have guidelines that are going to come out for them, and they'll be able to open as long as they can follow the guidelines. And I don't know what those are because they haven't been brought out from the state yet. But when you read the governor's action plan in the yellow phase, it does talk about daycare centers being open.
Has the health department been in contact with any daycare facilities, I guess, preparing for that?
I don't know. We've had so many calls from so many different businesses, so I'm not sure specifically about a daycare center if they've called us. But again, we don't have any specific guidelines for them yet. The only specific guidelines we've gotten so far are the construction business guidelines, and they are allowed to open on May 1st, which is this coming Friday.
Thanks.
Sure. Erie Times News, do you have any final questions for me?
Yes, Kathy, at any point are you going to be identifying the people who have died of coronavirus?
I will not be identifying them. That's really something we're letting the families do, is to decide if they're going to put an obituary in the paper or not and identify their loved one, which I know there was one over the weekend. The first death was in the paper.
Yes. Thank you.
Sure. Well, with that, I will conclude with one last thing, and I told you I'd come back with this, and we have not had any positive cases of COVID-19 within our county employees. I wanted to just confirm because I knew we had had a couple people who had been placed on quarantine early on, and none of them ever exhibited any symptoms and are now off of their quarantine, I believe. So anyway, just wanted to report that out as I said I would. And I want to thank all of you for continuing to do the hard work. You know, people ask about my mask. I do walk in with a mask on, and as soon as I'm done here, I put it back on so that I can wear my mask in and out of this building. I wear it when I'm out walking. Sometimes I don't wear it until I see people, then I throw it back on my face when I go by people. I was out on my bike over the weekend. I had my bandana, and when I would see people, I would pull it up over my face so that I wasn't near them without something covering my mouth and my nose. Again, cover your whole mouth, your whole nose. It's really important that you wear your mask up over your nose like this, and not down just over your face, over your mouth, because some people, I see them and the nose is still exposed. It needs to cover the whole mouth and nose area, and I just thank all of you for doing so well. You know, last week we reported, we went out and did some surveillance, and Karen Tobin spoke on Saturday about just the great response around Erie County. We need everyone to be wearing a mask when they're out, so encourage your friends and your family. I know not everybody wants to wear a mask, but we all need to do it if we're going to reopen this county and get back to work and get back to some semblance of kind of normalcy. And we need to continue to keep that 6-foot distance from any person that you don't live with. And we also need to make sure we wash our hands 20 seconds at a minimum before you touch your face particularly, and keep yourself healthy. It's up to you to do that. So in the meantime, please stay home, please stay safe, and please stay calm.
You've been watching today's update on COVID-19 from Erie County Executive Kathy Dahlkemper. In case you just joined us or came in kind of midstream, here are some of the highlights, the updates from today. Kathy Dahlkemper unfortunately announcing a second Erie County death attributed to COVID-19 or COVID-19 complications. A woman in her 70s who passed away yesterday at St. Vincent Hospital in Erie. You might remember that the first fatality from COVID-19 in Erie County was a gentleman in his 80s reported last week. 4 new cases today brings Erie County's total to 82 cases since they started keeping track during the pandemic. 1 person in their 20s, 2 in their 30s, 1 in their 40s, all in Zone 1 again, all 4 in Zone 1. That would be the city of Erie. The county still, she mentioned today, does not know exactly what businesses would be included. When you talk about a complete list of businesses that would be included if we were allowed to go from red to yellow on May 8th. The state has not said who is going to yellow or has not confirmed who is going to yellow on May 8th yet. If Erie County goes to yellow as part of northwestern Pennsylvania, the zone up here, there's still really no complete list, not even a partial list of businesses that would be allowed to reopen, except that she did mention to another question, I believe from our own Samir Nefsi, that daycares are on the list of businesses that would reopen if we went to a yellow phase, because with other businesses reopening, there needs to be some support for those families. She also said that even in yellow, she would recommend limiting travel. Of course, yellow still has a lot of limitations on it, including the size of gatherings, no more than 25 people. But if we did go to yellow, when and if, she would recommend limited travel even after that. So let's look at the numbers now. The latest confirmed cases of coronavirus near us right now, Erie County reporting 82 confirmed cases. Want to correct that, 82 and 2 deaths. The latest victim, again, a woman in her 70s. Crawford County reporting 19 cases. Warren County 1. There are 31 confirmed cases in Chautauqua County, New York, and 3 deaths. 110 confirmed cases in Ashtabula County, Ohio, with actually 11 deaths. The Ohio state website had been reporting 10 deaths as of this afternoon. Kathy Dahlkemper said today that number is now 11. Across Pennsylvania, there are more than 42,000 positive cases of COVID-19, an increase of 885 in the past day. Almost 1,600 people have died. That number going up by 47 in the past 24 hours. More than 161,000 people have tested negative. So the best advice, as always, stay calm, stay home, wash your hands, social distance, keep that 6 feet, and wear a mask. Jet 24 carries a live digital exclusive coronavirus newscast 3 times a day, 11:30, 3 and 9 on the website yourerie.com. We will, of course, have a complete wrap-up tonight on Jet 24 beginning at 5, including a conversation with 2 people from Erie County diagnosed with COVID-19. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you at 5. Good afternoon.
This has been a Jet 24 Fox 66 special report. For ongoing developments, log on to yourerie.com. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.